All right. Someone told me that the key to success on YouTube is to have cats in your videos. So this is Zion. He's a kitten. He's really fat. He's a fat cat. I don't know what happened because we don't feed him more than you're supposed to, and he exercises all the time. He's just a big guy. Okay, he wants to be put down. All right. So hopefully, that livened up this video. Hey, making a lot of these videos, got to make them a little bit different. 49ers here, who I'll be honest, I did not love this 49ers draft. There's some picks I really loved. Again, like how it always works, right? There's going to be some hits, some misses, some things I like, some things I don't like. And the 49ers very much have a kind of boomer bust mindset when it comes to the draft. It feels like they will have some picks that you look back on and say, what were they thinking? And then you have some picks that you're like, what was everyone else thinking? That was great. So we'll see which ones these are here. First, I got to set up the chart you see next to me is the consensus big board compared to when these players were drafted. So the first number you see on the left, that's when the player was drafted. Next number where they were supposed to be drafted according to the consensus big board. Then the player name and the position. Ricky Purcell is someone, I don't think I say that right, but he's someone who, again, I think should be a solid player in the scheme. I'm interested in seeing exactly how it works because he doesn't jump out as a 49ers receiver. And he kind of does, actually. I think he could fill that Jawan Jennings type role, who they have Jawan Jennings, but I think that's kind of what they view him as, and maybe just adding an extra receiver. They can do more 4 receiver sets, stuff like that. I know people are wondering, Brandon Ayuk replacement. I don't know about that. Brandon Ayuk's a really talented player. Maybe this is a bit of insurance in case Ayuk says I'm sitting out or something like that. But I don't think that's exactly what they're doing. I think they just like him as a player and wanted to add him. I think if they were going to get rid of Brandon Ayuk, they would have done it by now. They're not going to do it for a future draft pick. It was going to happen now or it wasn't going to happen. So I think that's, maybe the biggest win for the 49ers is they didn't get rid of Brandon Ayuk, I think. Then they got Renardo Green, who you see, they drafted him at 64, was projected to go 109. The 49ers have done this from time to time. It feels like 1 or 2 picks every draft. They do this. It usually doesn't work out. Usually they don't end up with some, every now and then it does, but usually they end up, again, when you draft a guy at 64 who's supposed to go in the hundreds, usually they play like a player who's supposed to go in the hundreds. Now, there's reason to like Green's game, and he is a position of need. I think that's a big part of why they did it, and he's played well against good competition. He played, his best game was maybe against LSU, who has Neighbors and Thomas Jr. So, really good footwork and things like that. It's just more so, it's definitely someone who you wonder how much of his stuff is going to work at the NFL level. And that's kind of the concern that you have is, he's someone who his moves worked at the college level, but then can they work at the NFL level? I don't know. That's kind of why he fell. Then you have Dominic Pooney, the next guy, who, again, I find to be interesting. So he's someone who is a complete one-year wonder. I mean, he's only been, only showed 2 years of production. The first year was okay. It was good for college, but it wasn't like NFL level guy or anything like that. But then he was much better year 2. He was actually Pro Football Focus's 21st rated tackle out of all of the eligible tackles in college. Like, that's great stuff. So I think people assume he'll be a guard. They need offensive line help. This is a great pick. I love this pick. This is probably my favorite pick that they had, quite frankly. So yeah, I think that was a really strong one. And again, everyone talks about offensive line just for starters. I don't know why, because maybe he won't be a starter right away, but you need depth, and to be honest, he might be a starter right away. So that's really cool. That's something that you like. Then they got receiver Malik Mustafa. Might be how you say his name. I'm trying here. Again, I'm not going to get every name right. Doing what I can. Safety out of Wake Forest. Not the biggest safety you'll ever see. 5'10", 290. But again, showed a lot of production. Was projected to go around this part. And I think he's someone who because of the size, there might be some concern, and I think that he is someone who, might not necessarily be someone who you look at as this like potential star. He isn't someone who is the quickest, off the, running the ball snap, getting to places and things like that. But I do think there is, again, some potential for some just, a quality depth play here. I don't think they're expecting a lot more than that. Not every pick has to be trying to get a superstar. I think that's what they're doing here. But I could be wrong. I think it should be a solid depth piece, though. Again, there's always like the three kind of picks once you get into hundreds. There's either you're getting a guy who has really good production but doesn't have the NFL traits. You're getting a guy who has like great NFL traits but hasn't really put it together on the field. And you kind of get a guy who's like, okay, production, okay, NFL traits, like not great at either. He is that camp, which, there's some logic behind. Hey, just get the best player sometimes. I think sometimes people overthink this a little bit or swing for the fences too much. I think that there's some real logic behind that pick. So I like that pick as well. And then, Isaac Guerendo is interesting because obviously to have McCaffrey, but you don't want McCaffrey to be out there every snap. And a lot of people thought Guerendo would be, first off, drafted a lot earlier. He was projected to be very early round 3 selection. He was not. He was selected back at 129. So interesting there. Kind of considered to be more of a third down back, which, I think that the 49ers have maybe the best guy on third downs in the sport in Christian McCaffrey, but, going out and getting a guy who can do that, there's still value in for sure, because you can just take some snaps off of McCaffrey, and hey, sometimes you just draft the best player available. He's supposed to be the best player available. There's some logic there. They then went out and they added, some players who were not projected to go very high. In fact, none of these players were projected to be drafted on the consensus big board. First, Jacob Cowing, who, to be honest, with him and Tatum Bethune, I kind of think these are both just special teams guys. And Cowing's not the most physically imposing guy. He's 5'8", 168 pounds, and that's going to certainly hurt his stock. Although I do wonder if they feel like he could be a depth piece as well, and they're not just drafting him to be special teams. Am surprised he was selected as high as he was. Again, 135. I mean, usually you don't draft a guy at 135 who you think is just a depth piece. Usually that's a guy you think could, or that you think is just a special teamer, I should say. Usually you think that's a guy who could contribute. I don't know. Maybe they see something I don't. I'm sure they certainly put a lot more hours into drafting a guy like him than I have. So interested in seeing what happens there. You have Jarrett Kingston at the guard position, who, good pass blocker, not a very good run blocker. Another guy, and I'm not really sure if you're, how much you're moving the needle with someone like him, but okay, your depth, good pass blocking guard, if that's what you need, fine. I'm not going to crush it either. And then again, Tatum Bethune, who is someone who, again, I think is very, definitely someone who I don't know if he has the physical traits to be an NFL starting linebacker, and is certainly raw on top of it. I think he's a special teams guy. I drafted him with just a few picks left in the draft. So yeah, kind of an interesting draft here by the 49ers. As a whole, it wasn't my favorite. It just wasn't. I thought that they had a couple good picks that I really liked. The Pooney pick I thought was really good. I like the running back pick, which I don't always like. But, I think Purcell should also be a solid player for them. But just some reaches here, and then some, I'm not sure what they were doing with some of those late picks. So, not my favorite. We'll see. I'm sure that half these guys will be Hall of Famers and I'll look like an idiot. Wouldn't be the first time. But, I'm giving my opinions. Those are my opinions. What are your opinions? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.